Beautiful sunset on the beach with my friends and family. Take me step by step, we'll take it all. Baby, don't you miss it? Don't you miss it for the world? 'Cause I know I'll talk.
Welcome to the PowerWoman Network 2023 International Women's Day webinar, tagged DigitALL, the She Era, leading the digital revolution. This year, we are proud to honor the contributions of women to the digital world and their incredible ability to lead and innovate in the tech industry. Join me as I welcome our moderator for today, Carol Ariyibi.
Carol Ariyibi is a leader adept at using her extensive project development expertise to enable organizational transformation through technology, collaborative ways of working, agility, and robust strategy execution skills. She believes strongly in entrepreneurship as a business strategy and in empowering individuals and teams through coaching and mentoring. She also serves as the Director of Memberships at a nonprofit, the Agile Practitioners Association of Nigeria, focused on advocating for the growth of agile practices in Nigeria and Africa. Carol has excelled in male-dominated spaces for over 2 decades and believes women are most adaptive and creative once they tap into their innate strengths and attributes. Outside work, Carol loves journaling, volunteering, and family time. Please receive Carol Ariyibi as our delightful moderator for this session.
Hello, everyone, and you're very warmly welcome to this edition of the International Women's Day, the PowerWoman Network webinar for today. I'm so excited to see all our beautiful faces once again and to be, moderating this edition of the program. So our theme for this year is the digital all, or digital as we call it, the She Era, leading the digital transformation. And this year, our celebrations and our approach is shining a light on the work that women are doing all over the world to drive innovation, technological advancement, and also education, digital education, and how that is influencing the way that we work, the way that we live, and the way that we interact with each other. We're shining a light on the stories of powerful women who have been in this space for quite a while and who are going to help us make sense of how we can approach the journey in not just now, but in the coming years. I'd like to warmly welcome each and every one of you to this edition, and I know that you're going to have an amazing time learning and sharing with us. And for the International Women's Day program this year, we are highlighting the need for inclusive transformational technology and digital education. We recognize and celebrate women and girls who have championed the advancement of transformative technology and digital education, further curtailing the impact of the gender gap on widening economic and social inequalities. And our approach is to hear from these amazing women who are going to be joining the platform with us today, to hear how they have navigated in their own space as entrepreneurs and as businesswomen as well, and to also learn from their experiences. So without further ado, I would like us to introduce and welcome the first speaker who will be sharing the stage with us. Her name is Taribi Adebioshu, and she'll be speaking on women in tech, breaking boundaries and paving ways.
Taribi Adebioshu is the founder of QShop Tech Incorporated, an e-commerce software as a service startup, which recently received funding from the Google for Startups Black Founders Fund. QShop currently powers e-commerce for 20,000 plus SMEs across Nigeria and Ghana. Prior to Q-Shop, Tarebi served as the managing director of Yoke Solutions Limited, a technology services firm which specializes in software development. With over a decade of focused and target-driven experience, she has managed and deployed key technology solutions for multiple organizations, including General Motors, AT&T, Ekiti State Government, and the Lagos State Government. In a drive to diversify revenue streams, while at Yoke Solutions, she launched Sugar.ng, an event tech platform which served the needs of 10,000 plus event professionals and garnered a significant social media following of 800,000 plus across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Tarebi has worked in the technology industry for close to 2 decades, working across a multitude of roles, including but not limited to software engineering roles at Live Technology Holdings, a New York-based Omnicom agency, which is the largest advertising agency holding company in the world, and at Code Worldwide, based in London. Please welcome Tarebi Alebioshu as our first speaker for this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for that intro, Carol. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to see you too. Welcome.
Thank you. Can I go ahead, or are you introducing the other speaker?
Oh, you can go ahead. We'll take your talk first, then after that we'll take hers as well. Then the Q&A will be a joint Q&A with both of you on the stage.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
So thanks so much for having me on your platform. It's an honor. So I mean, today's topic is breaking boundaries and paving the way. And I think if anyone is active on social media or even off social media, all we've heard today is, International Women's Day, close the gender gap, and so much. So I think I would like to start by talking a bit about my journey into technology and what, how that has gone, and, maybe share some lessons along the way. So I started off, when I was really young, because I like enjoyments. You know how you ask children, what do you want to be? And they'll say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a queen, because if you're going to give me the option, then why not? Let me be a queen, let me relax, let people, fuss around me. But that's that notion was very quickly corrected by my parents, in that, you can't become royalty. You have to be born into royalty or marry into royalty. So my next career option then was I wanted to be a doctor. And my father had a strong influence in pulling me away from medicine. And his reasoning at the time was I was going to go to school in the United States. And in the United States, you can't study medicine as a first degree. So typically you would go and do an undergrad in pre-med or chemistry or biology or something, and then apply to medical school. So he was worried that I may lose interest somewhere along the way. I guess he knows his daughter. And, he spoke so passionately about technology. It's the direction the world is moving. And my dad is an academic. He went to school, is an engineer, he's also an accountant. He's somebody that consumes a lot of knowledge. So he was right on the cusp of it. He's like, listen, technology is the way to go. So I have 2 older sisters. So one of them studied computer science as well. And both of us were the kids in the STEM field. And while I was in school, I was exposed to a lot of internships. And those varied from design roles to coding roles to project management roles. So I sort of got my feet wet. I mean, I didn't feel very confident. And I think it's important that I say that, because it's easy to look at someone's career and just feel like, everything, they know it all and everything rolls along easily. It doesn't quite work that way. There are many days where, I still have feelings of, am I sure? Am I up to this? How do I close that gap? And I've realized as I've gotten older now that is a very natural part of growth. You will never know everything. As long as you're constantly upscaling and, looking for how to close those gaps. And where you can't close those gaps, finding people you can work with to address those gaps. So yes, so back to my career. So I ended up working as a software engineer with a startup called LifeTech. And LifeTech builds these really cool ad automation tools. So think of it like Canva. It was like the Canva of its time, but it was targeted at larger organizations. And I did that for a few years. I learned so much at LifeTech. And as usual, I was the only woman at LifeTech. And it wasn't intimidating, yes, but again, when I compare 2000, I think this was 2004, 2005 to today, where you would, if you go in any organization, you would see more than one female developer most times if it's a large team. When I moved to Nigeria, I didn't know anybody else that had my career. So in fact, a lot of times when I'll say I'm a developer, what I would hear is, oh, are you like a real estate developer? Software development was just was not it. It wasn't commonplace. So anyway, 2006, I get pregnant with my first child while I'm still working at LifeTech. And I'd always wanted to move to Nigeria. So if any time was right, it was when I was pregnant. And I went to my bosses with a proposal to allow me move to Nigeria and outsource my role to me, so that they would in essence be my clients. And this is how I set up Yoke Solutions. So I moved to Nigeria, they outsourced my role to me, so they became my clients. And I was working with them from here. I was also helping them find local talent here and training. And it was exciting. Again, I always like to say we're doing remote work before remote work was a thing. COVID thankfully closed that gap for a lot of organizations. So anyway, moved home, did work with LifeTech, found similar projects with other companies in England. And then eventually I started to build solutions for companies locally. So I did some work with Lagos State, built mobile apps for them, built application systems, application management systems, procurement platforms, different things with different agencies. Now, I'll be honest, did I know how to do every single project before I accepted it? No, I didn't. But I think one of the most important ways as women that we can continue to break boundaries and close the digital gap is in being willing to upskill. So knowing how to, it's one thing not to know another thing, it's another thing to know how to learn. To know how to learn is a skill, because as I mentioned earlier, you always need to know how to do something. Even outside of work, as a parent, there'll be things you need to research. How do I do this? This has happened with my child. How do I handle the situation? How do I, so that skill is very, very important. Second skill that's very important is, pushing past your fears. It's natural. Don't think that you're alone in having reservations about doing certain things. If an area is male dominated, as long as your safety, your physical safety is not at stake, I would say go for it. What's the worst that could happen? You fail. Okay, you try again. You try again with that organization. You try again with another organization. So don't take any resistance, so lying back. You get some resistance, you get some disrespect because, okay, you're a woman, what could you possibly know? There are many meetings I've gone into with team members of mine where it's assumed that I'm not leadership. And for me personally, everybody handles things differently. For me personally, who cares? Are we getting the work done or not? Eventually you're going to find out who is the leader in this space. And does it really matter to me as an organization? Not really. Bottom line is what matters to me. Can we execute well? Can we get all the information we need to make this project a success? And what I have found is even where there is discrimination, once you provide value, as a man, woman, whatever, you will be brought to the table. So don't let the initial obstacles, I would say for any women who are listening in, don't let any obstacles, deter you completely from the things you want to do. Anyway, so back to my long career story. So I started Yoke Solutions. That was going well. It's still going well. Did a lot of work for public sector, private sector. Did well in some things, struggled in some areas. As a technical person, it's easy to assume that all the skills you need are technical, but there are so many other skills that need to be developed. And that brings me to another point. Tech is clearly the new revolution. Everybody's trying to get into tech. However, tech is really, really, really wide. So if you don't like to code, or you don't like math, or you don't like things that you assume are tech, there's so many other roles. There's so many other roles within the industry where you can make a big impact. Coding definitely is not the end all be all and all of that. So anyway, that was it with Yoke Solutions. And then so I'm the type of person that if I see a gap, if I see a problem, like, okay, people are having a hard time planning events, or people are having a hard time, setting up e-commerce websites, or they don't have the budgets to set up e-commerce websites, then I would always, that thing, as long as an area I'm passionate about, it will nag at me till I do something about it. And that's how I started Q Shop. So pandemic happens, everybody's struggling to get online because, of course, no movement, it was new. And many small businesses reached out to me. Feedback I gave most of them was, go try. There are many platforms that do this. There's Shopify, there's Equate, there's Wix. Go and try one of those platforms and you'll be up and running in no time. But the feedback I kept getting was, Taribi, they're expensive. They are based in dollars. I don't have a card to pay in dollars, or it's expensive, or it's complicated. Okay, set it up for me on this. And I thought, okay, there might be an idea there. So I set up Q Shop, built and I would say what we call in the industry an MVP, which stands for minimum viable product. And what that allows you to do is test out an idea. So before you spend 1 year building something, build bare bones, 80-90% of your project and test it out. And I built that, and by, I would say, end of January, February, we had about 2,000 businesses on board. So it was clear that there was a need for it. Now, in terms of challenges, it's always difficult for me to speak about challenges from a woman's perspective, because I, as cliche as it sounds, I've never been a man, and I know men have challenges as well. I know society generally is more skewed towards men for certain roles. Okay, it's technical, it's a man that will understand it, is this, that, or that. But once you are competent, typically people will align. So first impressions, it may be, if I'm stood next to a man and nobody knows anyone's backgrounds, first impressions will be, I think I want to go with that guy. But then when you start to speak, or they see your work, or whatever it is, that's how you make the difference, And another way I feel as though women can, overcome some of these barriers is speaking up. We tend to be a bit, I don't know if the word is shy, but a bit humble, in our accomplishments, and I think it's because of the way we're raised. You don't, how they say empty vessels make the loudest noise, all those proverbs that they had back then when we were growing up. But unfortunately, life doesn't really work that way. If people do not know what you can do, if you cannot sell yourself, then it will be hard for you to get ahead. Whether this is in your career, even in managing relationships, upselling your work, this is what you've done, this is what you've accomplished over the last 9 months, whatever it is. If you can't do that, it's going to be hard for you. You may be lucky. You may have somebody who takes a keen interest in you and just, whatever the case, mentors you, close marks you, and says, oh, this person deserves a promotion. But more often than not, that's not the case. When I was going to ask for a raise when I worked in life technology, I spoke to my sister and I said, I've worked here 9 months. I was ambitious. I wanted myself. I've worked here 9 months. I do a lot of work. I think I should, I think I deserve a raise. This is what they're paying other people in the industry. And she asked me, she said, yeah, but why would they give you a raise? Why you? Why not somebody else? And I didn't really have an answer. I was waffling. I was going round and round in circles. And she said, Taribi, you need to make it crystal clear to them what your contributions have been over the 9 months. So you need to sit down, write out all the projects you have worked on, write what that impact is, and have your conversation from that point of view. I hadn't thought about it that way. And very quickly, I followed her advice. Simple, no, it's not. Are there many other times I've asked for a raise or tried to get projects that I haven't gotten it? Yes. Is it possible because some of those things I didn't get is because I'm a woman? Yes, it's possible. But do I now want to root myself in this belief that everything that's not going well for me is because I'm a woman. Definitely not. And the reason I don't want to do that is for me personally, it's a dangerous mindset. If you look at every challenge you have as down to your gender or your race or whatever it is, it's going to be hard for you to push ahead, because you feel defeated in that, okay, I don't know what to do. And you campaign, which is good. We all have to do this fight. But internally, a lot of the work starts with us. A lot of the work starts with us showing up correctly, showing up strong, doing research, upskilling where we can, asking questions, not being afraid of rejection. We're so terrified of rejection. I still don't like rejection, but it is a part of every single journey. Each time we're hiring at QShop or Yoke Solutions, and let's say we say we're going to hire engineers, and of course I have a bias towards female engineers. I want more female representation on the team. I will tell you, for every job post we put up, if 100 people apply, maybe 5 are women. Now, how do we we can't just say we're going to hire these 5 because they're women, because they also have to be competent. So what we need to do as women is step forward, apply for those jobs. Even if you think you don't apply, you don't qualify yet, apply. See the types of questions you're being asked, so that the next time you meet an opportunity like that, you're better prepared. And that applies to everything in life. So whether you're fundraising for your business, whether you're looking for a new job, whether you're looking for a promotion, yes, plan in silence, but you need to take action. And I think that's one of the areas we as women can do better. Now, one thing I haven't touched on is, as a woman or as women, we generally are nurturers in community. We nurture our children, we nurture our parents, siblings, whatever it is. We always have responsibilities outside of what the typical man will have. It is important that, for your growth, it is important that you have a support system, because you can't do it alone. If most women I know who have risen really high in any field, really, especially a field that was not traditionally skewed at women, had a very supportive family. So either a supportive husband, a supportive father, a supportive mother, whatever it was, they had support. Now, I know that it's not realistic to expect that everybody has that support by default. But what you can do is try to find people that are in positions or on the path, not necessarily the position you want to be, but on the path. So you see somebody that has, a career that you like and you admire, try and get close to them to find out what they're doing. That's not the only thing you need to do. Of course, you have to do your research, your courses, all of that, whatever it is that's needed for that role. But try and build relationships. And technology has made building relationships easier than ever, There's LinkedIn. There's so many people I have met on LinkedIn. It will amaze you how many people actually respond on LinkedIn if you send an engaging enough message to them. There's other social media platforms. There are industry events. So I don't think that, there are edge cases where, situations are really, really, really difficult for women. But for a lot of women, I think we can do more, and I guess I'm going to close by saying, ultimately, we all want to break barriers. We all want to see more representation. I definitely want to see more representation. This is a path I've been on for a while. But we have to believe that power to break the boundaries rests in us. Because if you do not believe in yourself, it is going to be extremely difficult to accomplish anything. I hope that has helped. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tarivi. That was really, really insightful. My notes are already full and we have not even gotten to questions yet. I just want to touch on a few things that you said, and which really resonated with me in your discussion, where you said that you need to have a support system and you can't do it alone. As you're striving for your path, you need people that can hold your hands up and people that can sometimes even shine the light for you, just as you had your father and your sister shine the light for you in very critical moments in your story. I see that's a very important point that you made from your story as well, and that really inspired me. Then you also mentioned that we should be willing to upskill. We should not be afraid to go for what we need and what we want, and get the skills and the things that we need to equip ourselves to be able to meet up with the opportunities that have interest and of value to us. Very, those are just two. I wrote down 10 points, but I don't want to allow other people to also ask their questions. So what we're going to do now, I'm not sure if the second speaker is ready, because you were able to help us wrap it up in good time. So thank you for that. I'm not sure if the second speaker is ready um, to join us on stage at this point. Let me just confirm that. Okay. Okay. So, because what we're planning to do was to take the questions for both yourself and herself in one session, instead of having that break and flow. Okay, but okay. Let me just ask a few questions while we're waiting for Adora to join us. Right? You mentioned about your father being a very, key influence for you. He pointed you in the direction of technology, right, and digital. So what do you say to parents? I imagine you're a parent yourself now. Are
Yes,
you
I
towing that same? Yeah, are you towing the same path for your children? And what advice do you give to parents who may be wanting to inspire their children in that direction as well?
So I think that, that's a great question, by the way. Every child is different. Every child has different interests. My daughter is just wrapping up secondary school and hopefully will be going to university this year. And, I tried and tried and tried to get her into STEM and she's not having it. So so as a techie mom, I really tried. So I would say don't beat yourself up if you want your children to be in the STEM field or work in tech or whatever, and they don't want to, that's fine. One of my sisters was in sales and marketing in another industry for years, and more recently she moved over to LinkedIn, and now we're like, oh great, all three of us are in tech. So I think everybody at their time will find where they need to be. But what I can share with parents is encourage your children's passions, encourage their curiosity, encourage their build their skills around researching and learning how to do things independently. Because ultimately, I think that's a skill that will matter a lot in the future. It already matters today. Job roles are changing, functions are changing. So you do not want to be that person. What you studied for 4 or 5 years in university, by the time you come out, may be useless. But what's more important is what are the relationships you built when you were in university, and how quickly can you pick up new skills? How quickly can you learn and unlearn? Because you may have learned one way as this is the way to do things, and 2 years later, and it happens all the time in tech, 2 years later, everybody's like, no, 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 this is not the framework we use anymore. So it takes some adjustments, but it's with practice, anyone can get there. So I would say that for parents, definitely that would be my number one thing. Encourage all their curiosities, encourage their passions.
Well, thank you for that. I think you have also just delivered me as well. So I'm not in pure tech, but I've been in project management for quite a while. And, I fancy that my children may be interested in it, but I tried everything to get them to enlist in robotics club. They were not having it, so I think, as you said, parents should not beat themselves up, but just
Yeah,
encourage them to be curious in whatever it is they're interested in.
absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned also something about selling yourself, and that was very interesting point where you said how your sister, gave you some inspiration of how to sell yourself. So maybe you could help us codify that a bit to somebody else that may be asking how do women sell themselves effectively, without sounding pompous, but still being able to put across your value to others.
Okay, that's a great question, and that's an area I still struggle sometimes. So first off, remove the notion of you sound pompous or arrogance. That's their business. Anybody that thinks that's their headache, okay? Because a man will come and sell and sell and sell and sell, and you may think he's arrogant, but he'll get the job and you won't, as you were playing humble. So always, it's a mindset. Focus on the positives, the things that you bring to the table, the things that you do well. And we have a lot of transferable skills. Women manage a lot at home. That's multitasking. That's project management. You are coordinating children's schedules, you are coordinating your kitchen, but we don't think much of it, but it is a skill. And people like stories, they like examples. But you need to help them connect the dots, because it's, you look at somebody's CV, and if you're looking at 100 CVs at a time, you're not necessarily going to, connect all the dots for one person's CV. So, make that process easy for them in the way you communicate verbally and written. When you're actually face to face with someone, then talk about your accomplishments. A lot of times I would ask, and people ask this in interviews, tell me a bit about yourself. And what I'm hearing is, okay, my name is this, I'm from this local government. And that doesn't really tell me much, because that's on your CV already. What I want to hear is your specific interests. When you were at this and this company, or you did this project, and this is maybe something that will make you stand out. This is something you did outside of work, outside of your job role. Everybody wants people that take initiative. This is something you did to help deliver something. And for me, I'm someone that I'm very quantitative. So I like metrics. I want to hear numbers. I want to hear, so if you say, oh, maybe you're applying for a sales role. Oh, I did well. I sold. I surpassed my targets. I don't know what that means. What was your target? By how much did you surpass it? So try to speak in, because it also makes you more credible. Anybody can say, oh, I'm very good at it, but does it really mean that? What does good mean? Good means I delivered X, Y, and Z on time and under budget. Good means I met this target or I surpassed the target. Good means, and it's sometimes it's even good. In fact, a lot of times, most good employers want to also hear about the areas you're struggling, because they realize that everybody has blind spots. So this was an area I was struggling, or I'm still struggling in, but this is what I'm doing to close that gap. As opposed to coming in and pretending like every single thing. And it's of course your body language, all of that also have to convey confidence. It's tough, but it's one of those things where with practice you become a lot better at it. So apply for all those jobs that are moonshots, where you just think, this job I don't even know. It will shock you. They may call you, and they call you and you say the best you can. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You don't get in. Best case scenario is a lot better. You get in. So
absolutely. Thank you for that. I think it's that positive mindset that really, propels you forward. When they get to see that you're also, you're confident of yourself and you're confident of what you're bringing to the table, that also inspires them to,
absolutely. And the people around you help you keep that positive mindset. So your friends, your parents, whoever it is around you. So if you have people around you that are downers, all of them, it will be hard for you. That's the truth. If you have people that are pushing you and saying, no, you can do this, try this, okay, it didn't work, try this other thing, then that's great. You don't want people that are always like, I beg all these women in tech. Good luck. All of them, is that you're not, you won't be encouraged. So you need positive people around you.
Yeah, positive energy is very, very important.
Very important.
Thank you for that. So let me take some questions from the audience, so that I'm not hugging, they will say Carol is hugging Tarabi. I'm not allowing her to take her questions. All right. So there's one from Lady Gwen. She's asking, what are the various areas in tech that one can transition into?
Okay, that's a great question. It's also quite broad. So without knowing what your background is, some of the areas that come to mind, there's design, where you are designing products. It could be that you're designing mobile apps, so you're designing web platforms. Typically, the skill needed there is you need to know how to use a tool called Figma. There are a lot of free online resources for learning how to use Figma, and then you have to build a portfolio. So those are roles where, even if you haven't worked in the role, you can sort of work independently and build a bit of a profile to apply. There's project management, product management, same thing, tons of free resources online. You can go on sites like Udemy, the courses are quite cheap. You can go on Coursera. Even Google has some free courses for that. You can join. There are a lot of product management. For most of these roles, there are lots of, communities you can join just to see what's going on and all that. And most important, I would say, for any role, whether it's UI, UX, whether it's product management, whether it's engineering, whether it's testing, working as a tester, if you are just coming into the industry, because of course everybody needs to start somewhere, the easiest way for you to get a job would be to work on an independent project. So it could be something you've always wanted to do. You always wanted to set up a website to do X, Y, and Z. Work on that independent project and be able to tell a compelling story about that project. How you approached it, what worked, what didn't work, you know, if you were to do it again, what you would do better, so that the person that's interviewing you can see, okay, this person is a quick learner. They learned this and this in 3 months. They did this. Okay, this is how they will apply it to the role. Of course, there are also other supporting roles around so this will be more, they're not tech roles per se, but maybe with tech companies. There are support roles, there are engineering roles, there are so many roles. You can also start with an internship. Okay, I'm a media consultant and I don't think so.
She's saying that she's a media consultant.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing you asked the first question. Yeah, so she's asking.
So I don't think so. I think it's a mindset. I think that there's a lot of young talents in the industry, which is good, but that's also a problem because they don't have as much experience. So you can build on your media experience. So say, for instance, you wanted to transition into tech by maybe making your own media services more tech-driven. There are a lot of AI tools now that would help you support that. Everybody has been talking about ChatGPT. I don't know if any of you have played with it, but it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
And it's incredible what it can do. There are tools like copy.ai, there are tools like Midjourney. You could offer, so yes, there are tons of tech startups that have zero media experience. You could offer services there. How you'd be able to provide value would be to try to understand their businesses a bit, and not necessarily technical jargon, because their end customers more often than not don't understand that technical jargon, but just understand it from a consumer perspective, and then that way you can offer them media consulting services. I hope that helps.
I believe it's very helpful for her. Thank you so much. I'm trying to see if there's any other question. But I think the second speaker is here now, so I would allow them to introduce her, and she'll take her session. Taribi, please don't go away. We still need you for the general session. Yes, but thank you so much for all you've shared so far. All right.
Thank you.
Adora Nwodo is a multi-award-winning software engineer based in Lagos, Nigeria. She currently works at Microsoft, where she builds mixed reality on the cloud. She is also the vice president of the Nigerian chapter for Virtual Reality and Augmented Reality Association. Her work there involves creating more awareness for virtual and augmented reality technologies. Apart from building and advocating for mixed reality technologies, Adora is a digital creator and the chief operating officer of Lend a Hand of Hope Initiative, a non-governmental organization focused on empowering young people in rural communities through education and skills acquisition. She has courses online that teach people about infrastructure automation, and she has also published multiple articles on software engineering as well as productivity and career growth on her blog, Adora Hack. She also has a YouTube channel for Adora Hack, where she posts tech content that is useful to software developers. Currently, Adora is a student of LEAD in the Stanford University Graduate School of Business. Adora is the author of the popular book Cloud Engineering for Beginners. This book is currently helping many young people to begin their careers as cloud engineers. Adora spends a lot of her time on Twitter and LinkedIn sharing about her experience as a woman in tech. She's extremely passionate about the developer community in Nigeria and is trying to drive inclusion for women in technology. She co-organizes community events for Unstack Africa, contributes to open source, and speaks at technology conferences worldwide. Please welcome Adora Nwodo as our second speaker for this session.
Hi.
Hi, Adora. You're welcome. Good afternoon.
Hi, thank you.
Great to have you here. And you'll be speaking to us about the power of diversity and women leading the digital revolution.
Yes,
All right.
yes, exactly
So
that.
you have the stage. Please go ahead. Thank
I'd
you.
like to screen share. I already put my presentation on the stage, but it doesn't show. So I don't know. I'd like to share my screen. I already put it on the stage, but it doesn't show. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining this from. And happy International Women's Day. It is with great joy that I present this talk to you today. So, yeah, I'm going to be talking about the power of diversity and women leading the digital revolution. But before I start to talk about all of that and go down that rabbit hole, I would want to just quickly reintroduce myself. Thank you for that wonderful bio, by the way. I don't think I can say anything that will top that. So I'm just going to keep it short. My name is Adora, and I'm a software engineer building mixed reality on the cloud. I am an author and a digital creator. So the digital revolution, which some people would say is the third industrial revolution, which is kind of what we are in now, or what we're moving away from into the next one. And, what was the in thing and stuff like that is the shift from mechanical and analog electronic technology into digital electronics. And like I said, it started some not couple years ago, but a while ago. And we're currently here now, moving into the fourth industrial revolution. But the third industrial revolution was where a lot of things actually changed and happened. And this fourth industrial revolution is, you know, coming together to bring different technologies, AI, robotics, Internet of Things, Web3, blockchain, all of that, basically bringing automation into the mix. And this is a collective force behind many products and services that we are now using and are fast becoming indispensable in our modern life. One of them is how we've been, recently integrating AI slowly into our lives. And now it's becoming like this year, or rather last year was the year where it's like, oh my goodness, AI is about to be everywhere. Let's talk about, from generative AI to people using AI for different things as well. You're finding AI in different apps to help you do things. You're using, as a developer, you're using AI in products like GitHub Pilot. As a writer, you have like AI solutions that are peculiar to help you with your writing, and everyone can use a conversational AI tool like ChatGPT to get things done, right? Or thinking about the web that you can own, right? Which is like, talking about Web3 and like, the web on the blockchain, or thinking about, Internet of Things and like, different things. And we're moving towards this digital revolution. And it's important for everyone to key into this wave. And one thing I want to say is that before you even say you want to key into something, you need to understand why you should. Because a lot of times when we tell people to do things, they're less eager to do it if they don't understand the reason why they should be doing it in the first place. So a lot of times, if you explain to people why they should do something, you would probably it will probably be easier to get them to do something when they buy into that vision with you. So here are some, benefits of leading the digital revolution as women. The first one I'll talk about is diverse perspectives. As a woman, you are different from every other gender, right? As a woman, you bring your own unique set of perspectives, experiences, and your skills to the table. And this means like better and a wider pool of ideas to choose from that can help drive innovation and drive the industry into new and exciting directions, right? It's not just for one particular set of people to keep suggesting and creating ideas. The thing is, if you think about it logically, it's always most times the crazy ideas that actually creates the billion-dollar companies, right? It's the unique ideas, it's the very different ideas that create these billion-dollar companies. So we need a unique set of perspectives that women bring. The industry doesn't have as much, you know, women today as we would like. So although we have some unique perspectives, it would be nice to get a broader pool of these ideas. Obviously, when you get many ideas and the ideas keep flowing, some would be ideas that you would decide that you don't want to go on with when you start checking and trying to implement. And then some would be fantastic. But the more crazy ideas, let me not use the word crazy, let me use the word unique. The more unique ideas you have, the easier it is for you to get those ideas that can create, new innovation and drive the industry into exciting dimensions. So the next thing is representation in decision making. When we have more women in leadership positions, they can bring their diverse perspectives, and this would ensure that products and services developed in the tech industry are designed with diverse needs in mind. Right. This is very, very important. The more we even go into the world of AI, for example, right? Everybody is building metaverse, everybody is building a conversational AI tool or the other. Imagine we didn't have better representation in decision making when it comes to some of these conversational AI tools, and like maybe when and this affects the kind of information that you get from it, because maybe the kind of data that you actually use to train the AI models are data that, because I mean genders are different, so because genders are different, interests are different, right? And because of that, let's say this particular gender is training these AI models on this kind of data that they feel is relevant to the world, oblivious and neglecting other forms of data that could even be also relevant to a different subset of people. But they are not them, so they don't realize that. And there's nobody in leadership to say, oh, hey, focus on training these AI models with this kind of data as well, because it's important that this is also represented in this product. Or for example, let's say you're building the metaverse and you're trying to build everyone is building a metaverse now, so they have like their own digital avatar. If you go into the central land, if you go into like the different platforms that exist, if you go into what's this other one, spatial, like the different ones, right? Everyone has their metaverse, their 3D version of themselves, their avatar. Imagine if the way these things were being built, people were not trying to the people building them were, let's say, a specific race and a specific gender. So if you try to create your own avatar representation, you don't really get anything that looks like you, because you don't have that representation in decision making to say, I need to make sure that we are represented across the board, men, women, different races, blah, 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 blah. And charge that and make sure it happens. So it's important that we do this as well, so that we're able to create technology that is designed with diverse needs in mind. A black person, a black woman using a metaverse platform would find an avatar that looks like herself. A black woman asking conversational AI a question will get answers that she can relate to. Things like that. It makes the experience better for everyone. Economic empowerment as well. I mean, it's a no-brainer that women's leadership in the tech industry can contribute to the economic empowerment of women, both as employees and as entrepreneurs, and it can help close the gender pay gap. So I've talked about the benefits of leading the digital revolution. So now I want to talk about, I've talked about the why. So now I want to talk about the how. How can women get involved? The first thing is education in technology. We need to equip more women with the necessary skills and knowledge to succeed in the tech industry through education and training programs. Recently, I started something with my friend where we go to secondary schools. We would like to start going to primary school soon enough, as soon as we can scale that, right? We go to secondary schools and we talk about STEM careers. We go to secondary schools and we talk to these secondary school children about this, and we focus on women because we're trying to educate them about technology skills in the first place, provide them with the information and the mentorship to help them start. And we're talking to them about starting STEM careers and what it's like to have a career in STEM and things like that. Recently, we went to Vivian Fowler's school in, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria, and the girls were so eager. They've invited us to come back. And the funny thing is, if we did not go, their lives might have still been the way their lives were, and they'll think everything is okay, and everyone's just carrying on with their day. So it's not only about the fact that, and that's one thing that I have learned. Yes, people would always still, they will still build their career, they will still do what they want to do. But there's a stereotype around tech that everyone just feels it's a man's, you know, role, or it's a man's field. It's okay as a woman to be empowered, to be knowledgeable, and decide for yourself that you don't want to do tech, you want to go do something else. But what's not okay is wanting to do tech but thinking you can't. And that's what we don't want to happen. We want to encourage people to see STEM as, a friendly place, a friendly field that they can get opportunities in. And if they decide that they want to chase those opportunities in STEM, that's fine. If they decide that they don't want to and they want to chase it in something else, that's also fine. But let it be a decision that they make for themselves, not one that society makes for you, if that makes sense. The next thing is networking and mentorships. As we're talking about, learning and getting educated with technology and STEM fields and things like that, the next way that you can actually get involved is by networking and by mentorships, right? It's important to build relationships. Nobody is an island, nobody can do things alone. Build relationships with other women, build relationships with allies in the tech industry, seek mentorship from established leaders in the field, use things like LinkedIn very well, attend more events like this more often, possibly attend physical events like this, because there's a physical network, there's a networking effect you get from physically being somewhere and having one-on-one conversations with people, which is different from the online experience. So as much as we are doing these online events once in a while, we should also strive to attend physical events too, and that would like really 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 help a lot. um and by then you realize that you're building your network, you're making more friends in the industry, and these friends are good for you, for recommendations. You might need to raise funding tomorrow, and it's someone that you met at one conference or the other that is going to introduce you to one VC firm that is currently looking to invest in startups like yours. You might need a job tomorrow, and it's someone that you met in a developer conference last year that is going to tell you about, oh, there's this remote company I know that is hiring and blah 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 blah. Networking and mentorships are important. Communities are important as well. As we're talking about women leading, you know, it's easy to lead as someone that climbs the career ladder and gets to the top in a company. It's also, or rather, it's possible to lead where you climb the career ladder and get to the top in a company, but it's also possible to build your own business. Build your own business that solves a problem and meets the need of your communities using technology. That way, you are identifying a problem in your society, you are using technology to solve that problem, and guess what? You are leading the digital revolution in your own way because you've automated a solution for a problem, right? And you've used technology to create that automated solution, and now you have paying customers, people that are using it. You'd have more customers, the solution would grow, you would scale, you'd hire more people, you would do a lot of things that would just benefit yourself, increase your profitability, benefit the economy, and just benefit the entire ecosystem if you think about it. So, there's also that, building companies. And to lead, finally, it's important to advocate for diversity and inclusion from the inside. I was at a conference earlier today. I was on a panel, and we're talking about, diversity, inclusion, and, just women helping women and women supporting women and things like that. And somebody said something that stuck with me. What she said was, women at the top should create ladders for women at the bottom to climb up. And like, when I thought about it that way, I'm just like, yes, that's very important. Because to be honest, a lot of the reasons why a lot of things that have happened happen is because people question, challenge the status quo. People decide that they're going to advocate for whatever reason. Somebody wakes up and says, no, this way we're doing this thing, it has to be different. Something has to change. And you can be that person in your organization if things are not going the way you want it to go in terms of women representation or women in that positions of leadership as we're approaching the next industrial revolution. Be that person that advocates and promotes and takes action for diversity and inclusion in the workplace, right? Be that person that talks about helping your organization set up unconscious bias trainings because it's important. And a lot of times, to create inclusive environments, we need people to feel welcome where they work in the first place. Be that person that advocates for diverse hiring. Be that person that advocates for period, what's that thing called? Period leave days. Be that person that advocates for these things within your organization from the inside. And as you do those things, you would see that you are constantly creating an enabling environment for women to thrive. And you would see more women coming into these organizations, especially organizations that have like outlaid a clear path for growth for women. This year, we're talking a lot about equity and equality. Yes, equity is one thing that would drive gender equality, but we have to think about it in that way. For example, I gave this example today at the event that I was at, and I saw this on the timeline this morning, is why I used that example. Imagine we have two entities, one is 3 and one is 5, and we're trying to get to 10. The fact that you give both entities 5, in your mind, you've been fair, you've been equal. But you've given both entities 5. The 5 has gotten to 10, but the 3 is now at 8. They are not on the same level. That is not equity. To think about equity in the way that, okay, I recognize that this particular entity has some restrictions, and based on that, I'll allocate more resources to this entity so that I can now bring them up to now be, competitive on the same level as this entity. You can't treat 3 the same way you treat 5 if you're trying to get 10, because you'd add 5 to 5 and you need to add 7 to 3 to get 10. Right? As men and women are different genders, so we have different things and different struggles in our lives. So to create, and the funny thing is, if a woman by herself can be a mother, can be a homemaker, can be a content creator, can have her job, and can do all of those things, and she can still excel, I promise you that she will excel as a leader as well if you provide that right environment for her. And she would even probably be one of the best leaders you would ever have in your organization, that would lead that revolution very well for you if you provide that enabling environment. Again, things that I have said around, period leave days, maternity leaves, inclusive environment, safe spaces, and things like that. Things that that this particular gender needs. So yeah, the next thing I would say, and I think it's the final thing, is to invest and support women-led startups. I think we need to move from a place of mentorship to sponsorship. A lot of people are always having ideas and having advice to give to women. I'm not saying advice is bad. Advice is fantastic. We all need advice. We all need information that will help us learn and grow. However, please, when you give advice, also give money, right? As a woman, give money to other women. As an ally, give money to women. As a woman, tell people to give money to women too, right? Because yes, there's sometimes that you might not be the one giving, but you might be in touch with VC firms that can give, and you actually might be in the position of power or influence to say some things and just to charge some people to do the right things. Influence and support other women in the tech industry, people that are starting out their own companies, people with innovative ideas. And when we create these spaces for them and we support them, we would get these scenarios where we're having more women leading more innovative technology businesses, and this will help us in the long run, be a part of and lead the digital revolution. Thank you, everyone, and I hope that you learned something. And I guess there's going to be like a Q&A session, and that's where I guess I would answer questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adora. That was a very enlightening session. You touched on so many things, and your points were so direct. You spoke about how women can get involved in technology and why they need to get involved in technology. And I'm waiting for the questions. I know questions are soon going to start, jumping out from the audience. But while we're doing that, I wanted to just touch on the last point you made about investing in women-led startups, because that's a very valid point. A lot of times you know we play lip service to it, but we don't exactly put our money where our mouth is. So I wanted to ask, are there platforms that are available today that would make it easy for us to invest, first of all, to even know about women-led startups, and also to invest in them as well? Because I assume that some people probably don't know, that some of these platforms exist, right? So they're not quite sure how exactly to go about investing. So maybe
Okay.
you can tell us. Yeah.
So yeah, I know of one platform. I don't know if they are like open to. I don't know how their model works, but I know that First Check cares about giving women-led startups money, right? I don't know if
Mm,
they fund this internally or they have like a community of VCs that they get money from and then they fund these startups. I don't know what the model is, but I know that
mm,
they do that as well. So if you're a woman here, that's also something worth checking out. I'm just finishing from one event before I'm coming here, and the event is the Aurora Tech Awards. They gave, but I think Aurora's own. Sorry about that. Aurora's own money, I think, is grants, not necessarily like investments. If you get what
investment,
I mean.
yes, not
But
debt
they also
funding.
give women,
Mm,
women, female startups that they feel are doing impactful work money as well, right? I was on the jury panel for that, so some of the, I chose like some of the startups that were like going to win some of the grants and things like that. So there's also Aurora, um, and even the normal like startups. Like you can be in those communities and choose to, when the deals come in, pay attention to women-led startups. Do you get what I mean?
mm,
Because deals
yeah.
would always come in, companies would always say they want to raise, either their pre-seed or whatever round they're trying to raise. And you might be in those conversations if you're a part of those communities. So you can decide that you want to focus on, or rather you can decide that you want to fund more women-led startups than the like other startups, just so that you can balance the scale. I'm not saying you shouldn't fund other startups. If you see an impactful startup that you think is going to, you know create a very fantastic product and have an effect on the world, by all means, please fund it. Don't say that it's because it's a woman that is leading the fund. Did you get what I mean? But you might also
Yeah.
decide that you want to fund more startups that are led by women, just so that we can balance that scale as we are trying to drive equality through equity, if that makes sense. So yeah, so you can use like there are a bunch of all these VC communities that exist. If you are in any of them, you can like join, and when the deals come in, focus on funding women startups. I know that Get Equity too has like startups that they onboard on their platform and you can fund. So you can decide that what on Get Equity as well. I'm only going to be giving or rather, I'm going to be giving more women-led startups money. Do you get what I mean? So there are
Yes,
many things that you can do. There are many ways. Just get involved. I think the most important thing is asking questions, attending events like this, because that's how you learn and you hear things, and that would spark like new conversations and things like that. So get involved and just give us money, give them money, give everybody money. Because yeah, it's important to help everyone grow. I think are you saying anything?
sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, still great stuff. Thank you very much for that. I think the main point you're making too, again, which I want to shine a light on, is get a lot of times our eyes are not open to things because we're not looking for them. But when we start to look, we start to see the opportunities coming up from everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So I'm trying to see if there are any questions from our audience for you at this point. And I'm sure me, I always have questions written down somewhere. So you said, that we need to identify problems, right? We need to be able to look for problems and or needs around us in the environment and identify them. Can you just shed some more light on that?
Sorry, could you repeat the first part of the question?
Okay. You mentioned that we need to be problem solvers, right? So with technology, so we can identify problems around us and use technology to solve them. I said, could you shed more light on that point as well?
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, if you're going to build a business and it's around building a business, if you're going to build a business, you want to build something that is valuable and something that you like customers can pay for, right? And
Yeah.
many people would pay for you to solve current problems that they're having. For example, if somebody comes to tell me now that magically they can use tech through maybe infrastructure, something, server somewhere to solve my electricity problem in Nigeria, I will pay for it. Do you get
Yeah.
what I mean? So
The average Nigerian will pay for that.
average
Yes.
Nigerian that can afford it will pay for it exactly. So the main thing is
Mm,
identifying a problem and thinking. So the main thing there is identifying a problem because that is an opportunity to add value. And an opportunity to add value is also an opportunity to make money, right?
mm,
So identifying
mm,
a problem, thinking of how you want to solve that problem across different sectors. It could be with tech, it could be through fashion, like fashion commerce, or just like fashion adoption stuff, right? It could be entertainment, it could be core technology, it could be education with tech, it could be investments, finance, logistics. Like they're
mm,
different things, different segments, right? And you can have different kinds of customers because I don't think any product can target every single person in this world. Like you'd always have different customer segments and different kinds of people that you are focused on, right? It could be
mm,
different problems, and you just find those problems and you create a solution that adds value. And and if you create that solution using like tech, it's because it's become a value adding thing. You are now in that place of leadership for like a tech solution, and I was tying that back to the digital revolution and how that can make you a leader in this space, right? So yeah, that's just like what I meant. Find an opportunity to add value, like a problem that people will be willing to pay for when you create the solution. If you can use tech to create that solution, fantastic, and just like watch it bloom.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. There's a question here, and person says, from Oluwaseun, he says, what tech platform would you recommend for a girl child of age 7 who is so interested in tech, as it will make sense to catch them really young and help them to develop into that digital woman?
Okay. At age 7, when the person says interested in tech, I need to know what exactly you're interested in. Are you interested in coding? Are you, because I can't be talking about product management to a 7-year-old. So, are you interested in coding? Are you interested in design? Are you interested in gaming? What you're interested in exactly would determine the platform I would suggest. But
Mm.
in all these things I've said, actually, the intersection is Scratch. Right? So you can use Scratch, and Scratch teaches you like a game, and things like that. So as a young person looking to learn technicalities and tech and whatever, you can start with Scratch and just like build up from there. As you grow older, and just if you are the person talking about your 7-year-old sibling or daughter or child, also check in periodically with that person, because the fact that you started with Scratch doesn't mean that as they grow older they will not realize that maybe I don't want to write code. This tech thing is not bad, but I want to do something else in tech. I want to be a tech
Mm.
content creator, right? Or I like to teach
Okay.
tech. And you might suggest, there's this thing called developer advocacy that somebody spoke about on the internet one time. Maybe I can fix you up there. Do you get what I mean? So, as much as, because the person is young and there's a lot of time for that person to evolve. So, make sure that as you're introducing them into this Scratch platform, like I just mentioned, you are also constantly checking in to see if there is still interest in that space. And because I mean, people will graduate like from scratch. You might decide, okay, it's time for you to write Python. It's time for you to write Ruby. It's time for me to introduce you to JavaScript, right? So you need to constantly check in with that person to be sure. But I would say for a 7-year-old, definitely start from scratch. I know that, no pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended. Thank you. I think he even commented I was gaming, that she's interested in the child is interested in gaming. So
Okay, yeah.
that
Scratch,
also aligns with what you are saying.
yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So I think at this stage we should bring in Taribi to also join us so we can have the joint session with both of you. And please, if you have more questions, please keep them coming. Adora and Taribi are going to be here with us for a few more minutes to answer your questions and just generally talk around the topic. Again, thank you. Welcome back, Taribi.
Thank you, Carol. Hello, Adora. I enjoyed listening to your talk.
Your mic is muted, Adora.
I
Okay.
was like, hi, thank you. I didn't realize that my mic was muted. Sorry.
Wow. So, welcome, ladies. We've heard so much from both of you, and really thank you guys for the knowledge that you've downloaded so far. And I see some intersections in what you've both spoken about, where Taribi mentioned that the power to break boundaries rests within us. That was one thing she said. And also, Adora, you yourself has said, that we should be the change. We should be the person that is the advocate, either for a business or even within our organizations, you know. So I see those intersections there, and I wanted us to just talk a bit about that, maybe from your personal experience regarding those 2 points that you've made. So maybe I'll start with Taribi first, and then I'll go to Adora.
Okay, Carol, sorry, I have to take you back about 30 seconds. I spaced out for just a bit. So you
Okay.
said there was an intersect, but I didn't hear what the actual question was.
Okay, so there was an intersect. You mentioned about the power that the power to break boundaries rests within us, and
Mm-hmm.
Adora says, that we should be the change. So I was saying that
Oh,
the themes seem very similar, and I wanted to ask if you had a personal experience of where you felt you had maybe been the change or you've broken a boundary, and what the outcome was, so you could inspire the audience even more.
got it. Thank you, Carol. So I mean, I have a lot of personal experiences that have demonstrated that. But before I start there, I wanted to quickly touch on something Adora said, which was you have to start with the why. Why are women important? Why do we need this diversity? I thought that was that's really important, and it's a point we forget to make at times. Now, in terms of me personally breaking boundaries that maybe were not traditionally available for women, I spoke earlier about how I started working remotely as a software engineer in 2006. And when I mentioned it to a few people, oh, I want to move to Nigeria from New York, and I want to ask my employers to keep my job. So, two questions. First question: why are you moving back to Nigeria? What are you going to do? What exactly are you looking for in Nigeria? They don't have this. They don't this. There's no lights. There's no da 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 da. Second question: why would they let you work remotely? You know, and because working remotely was not even it was unheard of. Who pays somebody that's miles and miles and miles away, thousands of miles away, when they can't monitor them? But I was confident in the value I was bringing to the organization. I was project lead for a lot of significant projects, and I did not see them, as long as I performed, I did not see it being an issue. So my biggest fear then was, would I have reliable internet? And of course, that was a big challenge in 2006. I think I was subscribed to like 4 or 5 things, you bounce back and forth till you find what works. Additionally, I think this goes beyond me. For any woman who has started a business, in any space, it is a major undertaking. You go in all wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. You have these great ideas of how you want to take over the world, and there are tons and tons and tons of challenges. Everybody has ideas. Ideas are easy. Execution is difficult. So my example of, breaking personal boundaries is to push through the obstacles, whatever they are. Get help where you can, start a community, join a community, learn, do whatever you need to do to push past your challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really inspiring. Adora, let's get to you.
So um, so the thing is about you said something about be the change, and there's something second. That was the first one. The
Yeah,
second one.
yeah, being the change. So I was just saying, could you tell us like a personal experience where you felt? I think you even spoke about some of it. You've mentioned that you started going to schools, to talk to young girls about STEM. So what inspired you in that direction?
Um, I thought about my life growing up, right? So I'm a last born and an only girl. So I don't know whether the last born energy shows in my attitude, but I don't know. But like an only girl, and it was easy for me because there was already a framework that I like. I just got added, like, addition. Or yeah, just come and follow them, right? And the boys had computers, the boys had games. I mean, and I was borrowing their computer and using their games. So like, but I'm just imagining, like, in a typical scenario, like in a typical what's it called, Nigerian family, right? As a child and a girl, you're playing with dolls. They are buying plastic frying pan and plastic spoon for you, and you're turning it even if there's nothing inside. Right? So from the onset, you are growing to be, which is not a bad thing, right? Don't get me wrong. From the onset, you are going to be homely. They also tell you, oh, girls are prim and proper. You sit this way, you don't talk like this, you don't slouch, you don't. But yeah, the boys can slouch. Boys can do. So it starts from the homes, right? And so the thing is, even before these girls get to secondary school, they're already wired from their homes to like certain things, choose certain career paths, do certain, and I'm like, no, 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 not on my watch, right? So the goal
So,
is to go to these schools and tell them that you can be a ladylike, the most ladylike lady in the world and still have a thriving STEM career. It's not that thing they told you that women in engineering have muscle. Is it? I don't know. I don't have any muscle. I don't. There's no muscle in my hand. I don't know where that came from. Or how they say, oh, engineering is a math.
yes,
So I'm trying because I know that this is the case in families because it starts from homes, right? I
absolutely.
hope in our
Yeah.
generation, more people are waking up to this right now. So hopefully, our parenting will be a lot more I don't know the word to use. I'm not trying to say lenient or better is not the word because it will now imply that the parenting was bad, but that wasn't the case. But like our parenting will be different and accommodate this, like I'm talking about, right? Hopefully it does. But for the people that are currently there, is to go to the schools and now, because it gets harder as they get older. Like it's harder to tell, it's harder to convince a 23-year-old girl why she should build a career in STEM as opposed to a 12-year-old girl, right? Because this 12-year-old, she hasn't gone through her formative stages. There's still a lot in her mind that is open. She has a much more open mind. Like there's a lot to learn. Life, she hasn't gone through life situations that will say, oh, life has taught her, so therefore. So you can actually shape that person at that point. And that's the goal for me. That's what I'm trying to do with, all those things.
Wow, that's really really inspiring. I for my own personal experience, I studied architecture. I think we're only six girls in my class at the time, in the midst of about boys were double the number. So, as you said, a lot of time, you look like the odd one out being in those type of things, and the best time to catch them really, as you said, is when they're young and they're still formative. um, and it's important for parents to be a bit more, as you said, maybe malleable in this regard, and maybe try new approaches to the way we parent even the girl child as well. You know, don't give them any boundaries. Then you also touched on something which speaks more like what we call unconscious biases, where you already groom the girl child to feel okay. This is the space you can play, but this other space is for the boys, right? So what you're doing is really remarkable, and I'm sure, as you said, we should support and buy into things like this, initiatives like this. So I hope we can also do that as well and join you on this journey to support you.
Yes, I hope so.
Okay. So I want to ask about resilience. In fact, before I get to that, you spoke about equity, and you made a very powerful analogy. About somebody with three and with five, and how giving them the same number, five, across both people is maybe equality but not equity. So my initial, in fact, you took my question out of my mouth, because I was planning to ask you, what does equity mean to you, right? So maybe I'll allow Taribi to answer that question, since you've kind of answered it, and if you want to add something further, you can add it after she said that. So Taribi, please, what does equity mean to you?
So, what equity means to me is providing opportunities appropriately, where needed, so that everybody has a chance. Adora, expressed it near perfectly earlier, where she said, you can't give everybody the same thing because we're all at different starting points.
Hmm.
So equity will be making sure that everyone has an opportunity. Everybody's given an opportunity. Some people will be given more of an opportunity. Some people less. That's what equity means to me.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's so spot on. Adora, do you want to add anything to that? You know,
Oh no, I already sort of just like defined what equity meant to me, so I don't have like anything additional to say.
okay. So let's talk about support and community, because both of you touched on that in your narratives. You talked about networking, mentorship, and Taribi talked about having a strong system. So my question is, who do you look to for support, or who have you looked to for support over the years, um, career wise and professionally as well?
Um,
Um,
oh, do you
sorry,
want to
Dora.
go? Okay, okay. How have I looked for support? Different people. Within I leverage people. I feel like people are your most powerful resource in this life, because even though the resources you are reading online were still created by people. So I leverage people wherever I go. In my office, who do I look to for support? My manager, my manager's peers, my peers. I found people that are like levels up to 8 levels above me in this Microsoft. I will find you somewhere. This person works at Microsoft. Interesting. LinkedIn, Microsoft Teams. Hi. I'm shameless when it comes to making these connections, because the day you need them, either you need them for advice, or you need them for a recommendation, or you need them for something, that's not the day you want to start reaching out to them, right? And support
Absolutely.
can come not only in the form of advice, right? It could also come in the form of, things like this.
Mm.
Like I talked about mentorship versus mentorship, right? Advice versus I'm helping you, right? You are my prodigy. I am plugging you into things to help you grow. So I put myself in the center of places where people can see me, see my talent, and plug me. Please just plug me. Thank you very much. So I network a lot with I network sideways and I network up. So I network with like a bunch of my peers across
Fantastic.
different companies within my company, and I network up as well. Networking up is mostly in my company, because of access to big people that you can't just reach by messaging them on Slack or Teams is harder, right? So except
Yeah.
I go for a conference where I meet a big person and I'm like, before I leave there, I'm going to talk to you. But like normally, it's easier to network sideways across different companies. So that's the one I do the most. But I do both, and when I need support, these are the people that I reach out to.
Awesome. I like the way you've said it, that you network, shamelessly, if I can use that word. So it's the intentionality about the networking that also makes a lot of difference, from what you said. Taribi, can we hear from you too?
Sure. Great answer, by the way, Adora. So, for me, I get support from everyone, really. I will be honest, I only became intentional about networking in the last few years. I can be quite antisocial. So for that reason, I network really well online. So LinkedIn, whoever I need to reach, I can reach. I communicate really well in writing, and I'm able to make a lot of good connections. There are a lot of good connections I've made that way. Partnerships that have come my way have come from LinkedIn. So for if there are any semi-introverts on the call, there's hope. LinkedIn is here for us. But that being said, I also recognize the importance of in-person networking. And as I mentioned earlier, with most things that are uncomfortable, you just kind of have to throw yourself into the situation. And, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So I try to attend industry events. I'm still in contact with my old colleagues. So interestingly, I mean, I stopped working with one of my first employers, I would say 2008, 2009. And I'm fundraising for Q Shop now. And my former CEO did an investor intro for me, and this is years and years and years, since I worked with him. So I've cultivated and, maintained those relationships across my family and friends as well. I'm fortunate. And, honestly, if I'm being honest, it's by luck. I can't tell you that I deliberately, sought out certain people to actually be my friends or, be my family. They just happen to, our careers have just sort of grown and been complementary to
Yeah.
each other. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I think
Thank
you made a good point about the fact that there's hope for some of us that are not so, not so used to networking, but you just have to throw yourself in there and,
you. Do.
learn the ropes. Yes, yes, learn the ropes as much as you can. So we have a question from Oluwaseun. It says, do very old women have a tech chance? Can a 40 to 50-year-old woman be too old for tech? Or what age is too old for tech?
Okay, so
So
I
where are
feel
they to?
qualified for this as an over 40-year-old.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
So no, you're never too old for tech. Just pick what your interest is, and research. So there's a lady who one of our, in fact, most active stores on Q Shop is a woman who I think she's in her 50s, and she's a lot more tech literate than I would have thought anyone her age would be. She set up her store herself, even though it's no code and all that. She's very aggressive in terms of marketing. She's very aggressive in terms of building her social media following, and her sales numbers
Wow.
show it. She has high turnover. So it just goes to show, there are lots of younger people who also have shops set up on QShop that are not doing anywhere near as well. So I think what's most important is, one, you're willing to do it and you're willing to put in the work. And a lot of things are not as difficult as you think they are. Just, give them a try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Adora, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no one is ever old. The truth is, sometimes I don't understand why people see tech as, yes, tech is an industry, yes, but tech is more of an enabler than an industry. Tech
Mm,
exists in every industry, right? So even if you are a 40-year-old woman in the FMCG space, at some point your role is going to evolve to mean that you are going to interface with tech. And that's okay. Do you get what I mean?
mm,
So
yeah,
not everyone is going to be a software engineer, but everyone might use tech. Let's be very honest with the way the world is going. Because as businesses, because it's all about competitive advantage, right? Like I said, tech is an enabler, helps you do things faster, helps you go to market faster, helps you reach customers faster, things like that, right? You know, helps you aggregate your customer data to know what to know how your customers are using your application, and that would mean how you would build or update that app and things like that, implement feedback, makes you do a lot of things faster, right? And as a business, even if you don't want to use tech, just because there's a chance that your competitors might be using tech to make their businesses better, you're going to have to use it too. And once you do, your employees will use it too. So whether you are 40, whether you are 90, so far as you are still in the, I don't recommend the 90-year-old person being in the workforce, but you get the point. Regardless of how you are, as you are in this, day and age, in this, workforce. Even if you're not in a tech company, you would start using tech at some point. Even if it's something as small as no code apps, power apps, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Excel, you know, as a finance person, you would interface with something. So everyone needs to understand that and do the necessary things and get the necessary information and knowledge needed to help them thrive in those spaces. No one is too old and no one is too young either.
Yeah, I think it's just about us removing those fear of technology as being something so big. The truth is that we all interact with tech, as you've said, on a daily basis in whatever shape or form. So just find the one that works for you, but we can't run away from technology. I recently I watched MasterChef a lot. So there was one show where a woman started her career in her 50s and she was in her 60s and she had a thriving baking business. So as you both have said, the age is, it's also in the mind as well, and it's about how far you can see and how far you can immerse yourself in things, really. So thank you so much, ladies. I want to bring this to our talk too, and even though I want to keep on talking with you, ladies, I know you have other things you have done and you're still going to do today. So I think at this point, and there are no questions on the chat at this point. So I would just ask us to give our parting shots. What would you like to leave the audience with today on this special International Women's Day? On top of all that you have said, is there any last word you want to leave with the audience before we sign out?
Also, I'd say, if there's anything you want to do, now is the best time to do it. You don't have the monopoly of time as you think. And the truth is, now more than ever, there are a lot of resources on the internet to help you get into tech, help you get started in your career. Resources that did not exist before. So take advantage of the resources, take advantage of the people, take advantage of forums like this, events like this, communities like this. Join them and grow. There's nothing wrong in trying. One thing that I have learned a lot recently, actually, is that, you know, there is no reason to not try something. If you try it and you fail, it's okay. That's the worst thing that can happen now. And your state is the same. Nothing has changed in your life. It's still the same way, right? Actually, you've even gained something, which is that you've learned a new way to not try that thing in case you wanted to try it the second time. However,
Hmm.
you try it and you succeed. You succeeded, right? And that's different. So there's no reason not to try stuff. If there's anything in your mind, any new career you want to start, tech business you want to start, somehow you want to do something that would help you lead the digital revolution, go ahead and do it. And don't let anything or anyone stop you.
Absolutely. Go ahead and do it. Don't let anything or anyone stop you. Tyree.
I'll just like to add, I mean, most of what she said, in fact, all of what Adora said, I completely agree with. What I would like to add is get out of your head, get out of your way. A lot of times you're the one that's standing in the way. You're the one that's giving yourself 5 million reasons why you can't. So start wherever you can. Start small. Yes, you may have a big vision. You should have a big vision for your life, whether it's your career, whether it's a business, whatever it is. But you can't do everything overnight. So start with whatever little step, whatever is possible. So if you go in direction A, there's no path there. Go in C, go in B, go in D. No one, I think I said this earlier, no one holds the key to your life, where if one person doesn't give you a chance, then that, brings everything that you want to do to a crashing halt. So, be resourceful, leverage your network, build new connections, and just get started. Thank you.
Fantastic. Get out of your own way. Don't hold on to those things that have held you back. Push forward, push ahead, and there's so many resources available to us out there to get things going. You ladies have been receiving a lot of love in the chat, a lot of comments. People are quoting what you said. They said, Taribi, thanks a million. Adora, tech is an enabler. Powerful, great. Really, really, ladies, you've pushed the boundaries for us today, not just in our minds, in our hearts, and we have learned so much from you. I just want to appreciate both of you for your time and for all the beautiful nuggets you've shared with us today. And say thank you for coming to the stage today. And we hope to collaborate more with you in the coming months and the coming weeks. Thank you so much, Tari B, Alevio Shu, and Adora Onwodo. Welcome. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so I also want to thank the audience as well. It's been an amazing, I think, 1 hour, 36 minutes. We've been sharing, talking, asking questions, engaging. This is the PowerWoman Network. This event is hosted by the PowerWoman Network, and I'm sure the details of how you can join the network are being posted in the chat. So please follow us, like us, and join the community. We'll be bringing in more programs like this in the course of the year, and I'm sure you would also benefit a lot from all these programs and from all these events. So at this point, we will be bringing the event to a close, and and wishing you all a wonderful evening and a wonderful International Women's Day, and and all the best in this month of March to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
It's a beautiful sunset on the beach with my friends and family. Take me step by step, we'll take it all. Baby, don't you miss it? Don't you miss it for the world? 'Cause I know I'll talk.